Perfect. Well, for those of you who are new, the PWNCR stands for Professional Women's Network of Costa Rica. We're an organization that's about 12 years old, and we're dedicated to women's professional development in networking. So I'm Sarah Joy, and I'm the president, and Andrea Minicola is also joining us today. She's the past president and current VP. And along with the leadership team, we would like to invite our Director of Guest Speakers, Karen Duarte, to introduce Flora Montealegre from CRUSA, the CRUSA Foundation. Karen?
Hello, everybody. Well, thank you for being here and taking the time. Well, Flora Montealegre has an extensive experience in the field of economic development worldwide, particularly in the Inter-American Development Bank, where for more than 2 decades, she directed private sector development projects and led numerous projects in Latin America and the Caribbean countries in the areas of productivity and competitiveness policies, technology and innovation, and a small and medium-sized enterprise development. Flora holds degrees in economics, in political science, technology, and innovation. Wow. And since 2018, she is the executive director of CRUSA Foundation. And we are super excited to have her here. So please give a warm welcome to Flora.
Welcome, Flora.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. No, first of all, let me say I'm very excited to be able to meet all of you, even if it's not, you know, in a personal gathering, but these are the times and we all have to adjust to the times. But it's really a pleasure to be in touch with so many women. I see that we also have men, which is great. Welcome all the men. I came back to Costa Rica, just a little personal history. I came back 3 years ago after spending most of my life in the United States, you know, and I was very excited to come back here, and particularly excited to be able to join and lead an organization like CRUSA that works on development, which has been my preferred field for all of my career. And I do it with passion because I absolutely love development, and it's part of my, you know, my life. So thank you very much for joining me. I have a presentation. It's quite extensive because I understand we have an hour, but I do want to leave time for questions. So I'm going to try to go through it fairly quickly, if you raise your hands, I probably won't be able to see them because I'm going to have my presentation on. So I won't be able to monitor the hands, but I'll assume that we will, you know, just go through it, and then that we'll be able to have a question and answer period when I'm finished. But if somebody absolutely has a question, please interrupt me. It will probably be the best way to do it.
Sounds perfect.
Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yes. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to cover a number of different topics. I'm going to go over real quickly over who we are, you know, what are our trajectory and contributions in Costa Rica, our relationship with Amigos of Costa Rica, which many of you are curious about. And then I'll concentrate more on where we are moving. We have a new vision and strategy that we just launched in December. And we are introducing also a new way of working with partners throughout Costa Rica, and it's called Comunidad Cruza. And then I will finish with our call to action for employment generation opportunities for women, which is a new program, new initiative that we're launching and we're very, very excited about. So who are we and what we do? The Costa Rica United States Foundation for Cooperation was created in 1996. We are an independent Costa Rican foundation. We're apolitical, we're nonprofit, and we were founded to contribute to sustainable development in Costa Rica and to improve the quality of life of its inhabitants. And that is what we have been doing since since then. We have developed 960 development projects over these years. We have invested 81.5 million in these projects. We have made significant changes, restructuring in our operations. We are an incredibly efficient organization, and we are very proud of that because it just means that we can spend much more of our resources on the grants, you know, and on our beneficiary projects as opposed to our administrative costs. We also are proud that we leverage every dollar that we invest. We're currently leveraging $2.19 for every dollar that we invest. And along these years, we have worked with close to 500 different organizations who have been affiliated to us in one way or another and have helped us implement and design our projects. And in this map, you can very quickly see, I mean, we have over close to 20,000 beneficiaries of our projects throughout Costa Rica. 31% of there are women, but we are increasing our targets for women. CRUSA for a long time did not have a gender policy. We have instituted a gender policy now, and you will notice that a lot of our new programs are being targeted specifically to women. You can see also from the map that we work throughout Costa Rica. And, you know, we would like to work more on the Caribbean side. You can see that there is less there, which is easily explainable, but we are putting a lot of attention in our new strategy to really increasing our operations outside the greater metropolitan area. I will give you a sample of projects. I'm going to go through them very quickly, and later on we can do questions, but I did want to give you some examples of the things that we do. Some of them I wanted to highlight because they were our response to COVID. You may recall, and this Proyecto Testing Proactivo is one of them. You may recall that when, you know, the pandemic started in Costa Rica in March, you know, basically 2 years ago, we did not have much access to testing for the virus. And obviously that has serious implications because the Caja could not, if it couldn't test on a timely basis, we couldn't diagnose, we couldn't get those people into quarantine, and the virus just kept spreading. So we joined an effort together with the Costa Rica North American Chamber of Commerce, as well as with AED. And we also worked very closely with the American Embassy. And the idea was to try to get, raise money to get equipment to the Caja and to get PCR diagnostic kits, which were the best and the most reliable thing to do at that time. And a part of the objective of the project was also to be able to decentralize that equipment and those diagnostic tests, because the Caja, what little it had, was concentrated in the San Jose area. So clearly we couldn't determine when the virus was spreading in the less developed regions. We had an initial a goal of raising 750,000. We ended up raising over 1,800,000 from 137 different donors. There were individual donors as well as many multinational firms working in Costa Rica, as well as Costa Rican firms. And we were able to donate 61,180 PCR tests and to buy over 46 machines for the Caja, which were, you know, as you can see in this map, placed in many different areas, many different hospitals and clinics throughout the country. The Caja was obviously our partner who determined where those kits were most needed, and that's where they were placed. We were able to benefit 61,180 persons who were diagnosed, and indirectly we were able to reach over 1.5 million persons in the areas that were benefited by the project. We also developed another project that was very oriented to addressing the crisis that the tourism sector was having in Costa Rica because of the pandemic. I don't have to tell you all what, how much tourism declined and the suffering around that because of increased unemployment. People in the Guanacaste area seriously affected in all our tourism areas. So we instituted this programa Redescubre Costa Rica. And the idea of that was to provide very quick grants to community organizations as well as to small and medium enterprises. So we would provide seed capital to get them, either retraining their workforce, adapting to COVID types of protocols and regulations, investing in new kinds of marketing activities, and so forth. So that was a very quick response. The program is still ongoing. It's now been going for 2 years, and we will have it this year again. We are doing a lot in terms of women's entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship in general, but I wanted to highlight Constellate, and I hope that you all will look into Constellate because it's been a very successful project. It's the first incubator in Costa Rica for women entrepreneurs in the areas of STEM. And we have been able to establish a number of alliances with Impact Hub San Jose, which is an incubator, with many of the different public and private universities, with like the Tecnológico, Texas Tech, and also with a lot of firms like Boston Scientific, like EY, like KPMG, Emerson, and many more who are helping us, build this program. Our board of directors has just approved an expansion of this program because we feel it has been very successful and we're very excited about it. Another example of the kinds of projects we do that are more targeted at small and medium enterprises. These are, we target in an alliance with Procomet. We provide seed capital to SMEs. We do it through calls for proposals. The SMEs present their proposals. They have to show that they have potential for exporting. They don't have to be exporters, but they do have to show. We conduct diagnostics of the status of the firm, and they bid on seed capital so that they can get certifications in environmental standards. They can make improvements in terms of productivity as well as sustainability. We have been able to reach, our beneficiaries have been right now 188 companies throughout Costa Rica, and it's still ongoing. So we hope to reach even more companies. 41% of them are located outside the greater metropolitan area. 52 of them are already demonstrating capacity to export. Some of them have become new exporters, and 46% are women-owned businesses. We measure reduction in carbon emissions because of this program. We also measure how much their sales have increased, and that's part of the kind of indicators that we track at CRUSA. And then in terms of human talent, this is an area where CRUSA invests a lot. And the students that I'm showcasing here are the first generation scholars to the CRUSA CIID program. If you haven't heard of CIID, it's the Copenhagen Institute of International Design. It is a new, relatively new concept in education in Europe, but it is a world-class institute that decided to set up, and in fact, they have moved their Copenhagen campus to Costa Rica, and CRUSA helped them establish that campus. We work with CINDE and Mesoamerica, which is a venture capital group, to help them establish here. And they are, training Costa Ricans, but bringing students from all over the world to Costa Rica to develop techniques and innovation and design around the Sustainable Development Goals. But we also have a number of other kinds of programs. We have scholarship programs for students from the public scientific schools in Costa Rica to go to community colleges in the United States. And to specialize in technical training. We're very big on supporting technical training because we believe that that offers a lot of opportunities for employment here in Costa Rica. We recently are investing in a series of scholarships with different organizations, among them Centro Miravalles, Parque La Libertad, and also the Texas Tech campus here in Costa Rica. All around scholarships for women in different levels that will be encouraged to study technology and sciences. Now passing on to our relationship with Amigos of Costa Rica. And I want to welcome Emily. I'm very glad she's here with us. Emily is the lead of Amigos of Costa Rica in the United States. And she has been doing a wonderful job growing Amigos, and you will see it in the very few slides that I will present. But for those of you who don't know the origins, Amigos of Costa Rica was created by CRUSA in 1999. It was created as a US-based supporting charitable organization with the objective of mobilizing resources primarily in the United States for the benefit of development projects in Costa Rica. Amigos contributes to the well-being of Costa Rican communities by connecting donors' values and resources with vetted nonprofit solutions. About a year ago, maybe a little more now, Amigos became an independent organization from CRUSA. We had to do this because of changes in tax laws in the United States, as well as the fiscal reform in Costa Rica that affected the way we were working with Amigos of Costa Rica. But that doesn't mean that CRUSA and Amigos aren't affiliated organizations. We now work on as independent organizations, but CRUSA continues to support Amigos through financing of a large part of their operating costs. For many years, we financed 100% of their operating costs. And now Amigos is making a big effort, and a very successful effort, I have to say, at becoming a more financially independent and self-sustaining organization. But Amigos of Costa Rica, I consider to be sister organizations. We collaborate in many different ways. I sit on their board, and it plays, in my mind, a very important role in reaching communities throughout Costa Rica. You can see from this chart, I won't get into too much of the details, but just watch the trends. I mean, in 2017, we didn't, Amigos didn't even move $1 million. It was much less than that. And it has been very steadily, increasing really exponentially, so that last year, for the first time, Amigos passed the $5 million mark. And that is, resources that go directly to benefit development projects throughout Costa Rica. An example of how Amigos and CRUSA have worked in the case of the pandemic. We were particularly concerned that, our charitable contributions through Amigos would decline because, there were so many demands all over the world to support development projects. And so we got together, Amigos and CRUSA, and we constituted a program called Costa Rica Resiliente, which is a resilient Costa Rica. And we made specific, we identified specific areas that we could support community organizations that weren't normally the ones that CRUSA might work in, but that were really important in the case of the pandemic. I mean, a lot of NGOs were suffering, they had to be strengthened. We needed to support them with health and sanitary issues in the local communities and basic needs. I mean, food became, CRUSA doesn't work at the basic needs levels. There are other organizations in Costa Rica, but in this particular case, we structured it so that Costa Rica Resiliente could really address the most immediate needs caused by the pandemic. So now I'm going to move forward to our next section, which is our new vision and strategy. But before that, I wanted to just explain a little bit, and I know that Andrea had told me when we first talked about this that you might be interested in knowing a little bit about, how we go defining a strategy and how we see some of the structural problems of Costa Rica and how we decide where to put our money in. So in the case of our new strategy, we conducted a very thorough exercise. We had analyses of how CRUSA worked, what were our strengths, our weaknesses, how we were positioned in the marketplace in Costa Rica. But we also did a very important analysis contracted to the INCAE Business School to help us identify those key development gaps that were most affecting Costa Rica now and were likely to continue in the future, because none of these gaps are short-term gaps. And we asked them, don't just look at what's going on now. We want a perspective analysis. Look at, what are the levers in each of these areas: economic development, welfare, sustainability, and the social contract. And tell us where are the biggest challenges. And then based on that, we were able to evaluate where CRUSA has the most strengths and then decide, okay, so where do we focus our resources in our strategy over the next 5 years. I won't go into the details. We can make this study available to those of you who might be interested in learning more about Costa Rica. It goes through a comparison of Costa Rica with OECD countries. Now that we're a member, that's a very important benchmark for us. But we also compare Costa Rica to other countries of similar per capita income on a number of different dimensions. And clearly our development gaps on the economic side are large and very important. I mean, we absolutely need to achieve higher economic growth to be able to reduce poverty and generate more opportunities for everybody in Costa Rica and not just a few. We need to generate quality jobs, that is one of our biggest challenges, and we'll see some of the numbers later. Our style of growth, our development model has to be more inclusive than it has been in the past. Costa Rica is really lagging in terms of, unlike many Latin American countries that are reducing their inequality, Costa Rica has been suffering from increases in inequality, and that's a very serious issue. And we need to improve the quality of our education, absolutely. I think I've mentioned already the welfare ones, but more inclusion of women in development is clearly one of the development gaps that we identified as very important. And in terms of sustainability, we continue to have big challenges in terms of management of our natural capital, not only our green capital, but our water resources, our oceans. We need to move forward the implementation of the National Decarbonization Plan. It offers opportunities not only for addressing climate change issues, but also for reactivating the economy. And we need to see this as a way of Costa Rica generating new opportunities for growth and job generation, in green jobs. And then we need to address climate change mitigation adaptation. We're seeing how much suffering climate change is bringing, especially in agricultural sectors. but everywhere, to communities who are suffering more and more from hurricanes, from floods, etc. And then, although we don't see CRUSA having a role in this area of the social contract, in the end, it is very important that Costa Rica build trust. Citizenship trust has declined significantly over the last decade in Costa Rica. And we have seen increased confrontation among social sectors, and that needs to be reduced. And, security issues, I'm sure we all understand that they need to be addressed too. So based on this analysis, INCAI developed several potential scenarios. It was sort of a strategic foresight exercise, which is very interesting if you know how those exercises work. But if you look at this chart, you will see economic growth on the vertical axis and equity on the horizontal axis. And, we analyzed, what can happen to Costa Rica depending on, the policies that, are undertaken over the next few years, and beginning really now. And so we identified 4 main areas. And again, you can see this in the study if any of you want us to share that with you, but there is a scenario of, high potential growth, but very high inequality. And that's the Costa Rica of a few. There is the Costa Rica of the lost dream, which we call, which is a Costa Rica with low economic growth and high inequality. The Costa Rica that distribute what it does not have, and we've seen it happen in many countries. And that is a scenario where it's low economic growth, and yes, less inequality, but still significant. And then here is the Costa Rica that we want to live in. And we developed this concept of our dream Costa Rica. This is a Costa Rica that has high growth, economic growth, and low inequality. And that Costa Rica basically, and for each of the other pillars, we have the same description, but I don't have time to go through them, but basically means reducing social inequity. It means universal connectivity. It means investing in regional development. We need to look beyond the GAM area. We need to improve access to technology. We need to create economic growth based on innovation and technology. We need to restructure our production and our businesses so that they create greater value added. We need to use our natural resource responsibly. It is not only about conservation, it is about conservation, but also being able to use those natural resources to generate opportunities for development. And we definitely need to see improvements in the indicators of human developments, social progress, social equality, and environmental quality. So this basically led us to define.
Cuando lo que tienen que hacer es con mucho cuidado sacar sus 3 paneles. Okay, eso es muy importante.
Gil, we need you to mute.
Am I on?
Okay.
So based on these analyses, we established that CRUSA's purpose is to foster the conditions to achieve our dream Costa Rica, which again is a prosperous country. It's a sustainable country in every sense of the word, and it's an inclusive country. We don't leave people behind. And our vision, and I think this is an important change in the way we see ourselves. What we aspire to do is to catalyze, lead, and integrate innovative solutions and ventures that enable and accelerate the transformation of Costa Rica towards a prosperous, sustainable, inclusive country. We can't just be funders of projects. We need to bring organizations together. We need to catalyze different kinds of organizations. We need to lead them into believing this vision of Costa Rica, and we need to integrate, efforts of many different actors and actresses in Costa Rica who are working to improve the conditions of the country. Our values is that we act with integrity, we promote equity, and we love what we do. And we really mean that. We have a very small staff, very dedicated staff. I mean, really committed young Costa Rican professionals for the most part. And we do, everything that we try to do with care and responsibly and with impact. We really have come a long ways in terms of establishing a balanced scorecard, measuring the impact of our projects along different dimensions, whether it's the social dimension to see how we're impacting women versus men, innovation. We want to see innovation in our projects. We don't want to repeat the same projects of the past. We need to look at new ways of doing business. And we need to measure our impact on the environment and of course on the economy. I mean, we need to see that we are impact growth and that we are impacting employment generation. So here's a graph of our Dream Costa Rica, and this was a lot of fun. We had a number of focus groups, people who left their imprint in how they see this Dream Costa Rica. So you see fishermen, you see, us with the wonderful, ocean and natural resources that we have. We see universities, we see, agriculture with technology in it. We see, renewable energies, wind farms. So I think everybody can look at this and decide what is their dream of Costa Rica. But what is clear is that the Costa Rica we dream of has economic activity and opportunity all over the country, not just in one small area. Our route to this contribution to our Dream Costa Rica is centered on 5 strategic focus areas. And I'm going to go through each of them. Entrepreneurship. We promote the strengthening of the entrepreneurial ecosystem to enable the creation of new, innovative, and scalable ventures with high potential impact for closing social and environmental gaps and generating economic growth and job creation. We don't support any kind of entrepreneurship. We provide entrepreneurship that really has the potential to grow into export ventures, because Costa Rica, we know, has a very small economy, and we need to always keep our eyes on the export market. And we need to also focus on bringing green technologies and utilizing, the biodiversity of Costa Rica to generate new ventures around that natural capital. We are working on enabling business development and transformation, and we do this by supporting innovation and technological development in firms. We support value chains and business clusters in strategic sectors with high employment generation potential and with a focus on the less developed regions of the country. We are also working on decarbonization and greenhouse gas emission reductions. We are working to contribute through solutions, mainly pilot projects, that we can have a demonstration effect. You may have heard of the work that we're doing in the green hydrogen area in alliance with international partners, with Alastra rocket company, in Liberia with the Purdy, with the Toyota, group, with Metalco, we have about 25 businesses, both international and local, who have organized the Green Hydrogen Alliance. And we are working very hard with German, British, and governments who have green funds to bring significant investments to Costa Rica in this green hydrogen space. But as I said, we also see this not only as addressing decarbonization concerns, but really generating new opportunities for investment and job growth in Costa Rica. The fourth area is human talent and entrepreneurial culture. We are supporting the development, as I mentioned, of human talent and entrepreneurial culture to generate employment opportunities aligned with the demands of the fourth industrial revolution. So we're not providing scholarships for anything. We are very much focused on STEAM and on those soft skills and technical skills, including English, which are absolutely fundamental for Costa Ricans to be able to find jobs in the present and especially in the future economy. And our fifth pillar is sustainable technologies. And here what we do is we facilitate the adoption, application of cutting-edge sustainable technologies to increase productivity and target sectors and regions. So now I'm going to pass through Comunidad CRUSA. Move on, I'm looking at the time. I think we're doing okay, Sarah. It's half an hour, so I should finish in about 10 minutes, and then that'll leave us a lot of. So what is Comunidad CRUSA? Well, I'll start with an introduction. From what I have said, you probably agree that Costa Rica has a strong human and social capital, and we have to recognize and be optimistic about many of the incredible measures that Costa Rica has taken, policy measures throughout its history. Demilitarization was clearly one of them, but the focus and commitment to universal health care, and we saw the benefits of that, the COVID pandemic, education, our biodiversity, and the protection of our natural resources, which have enabled us really to bring so much foreign investment to the country and to grow our tourism sector as one of the key sectors of our economy. But we also have to recognize that we have big challenges, and COVID only made those challenges worse. So I think it's up to us, in our generations to innovate and to continue to build on the work that has been accomplished to date towards sustainable development goals. But we need to do that by creating new opportunities for economic growth and prosperity. And we believe that that needs to be done through actions in our 5 strategic areas of focus, which we believe address not all of them, but some of the most structural problems of Costa Rica nowadays. We also believe that one of the biggest challenges of development efforts in Costa Rica, but I think this is throughout the world, is the challenge of coordinating our efforts, of coming together as communities to articulate, what we do, and to do that, as a neighborhood, as a community who cares about those around you. And we need to do that if we are really going to be able to accelerate the transformation of Costa Rica towards, this common goal of having a better Costa Rica for all. So we have developed, and we've launched already Comunidad CRUSA. I'm having person-to-person meetings, many of them by video. Person-to-person anymore means video. But we're really carrying this message to many private sector businesses, individual professionals, NGOs, universities, research centers, the public sector, saying, okay, we need to work towards a common goal. And we are offering Comunidad CRUSA. Join us in Comunidad CRUSA as a group of visionary, disruptive, and committed people and organizations from diverse sectors of society with different points of views, different capabilities and resources and professions, but who come together to analyze the current situation and most of all to work to build our dream Costa Rica. And to do that by integrating resources and expertise and joining these efforts to advance Costa Rica's development. So far, we have gotten just a wonderful reaction from most people. But again, the idea is Comunidad CRUSA will be a meeting of people and minds to design innovative solutions to Costa Rica's development challenges. But we hope to do that in a proactive, constructive, and optimistic way. We often focus on how bad everything is. We often are reactive, you know, issues arise and we just jump and do what we think is best. But we need to really look around and come together and build on the capacities of all to build these alliances. And our first challenge, it's a challenge grant mechanism that we are implementing, is focused on generating new opportunities for job creation, for prosperity in Costa Rica. And this is what I'm going to describe to you, you know, in a few slides. But Comunidad CRUSA is integrated by private companies, public and private institutions, leaders in relevant areas, civil society, and training and research centers. And our call to action for beginning in 2022, we believe this will continue over the years, but our challenge grant is employment generation and opportunities for women. And we're calling it Empleo Costa Rica 2022. Why did we choose this? I think, you know, for many of you, it's probably obvious. This is one of the biggest challenges we have right now. Costa Rica is seeing the highest unemployment levels in history. And, you know, we have difficulties in establishing, you know, linkages among our firms to be able to promote economic reactivation. We have to recognize there is no single product or sector with all the requirements to enable this economic reconstruction that we need to move forward on. We recognize that foreign companies are big drivers of employment in Costa Rica, and we need to make sure that those conditions continue to be there. But we also need to generate opportunities to strengthen domestic companies. And we believe that a focus on agriculture and manufacturing will probably have the greatest capacity to multiply employment. We need to promote business innovation, technology transfer, and adoption, without which we won't have much of a recovery. And this means we also have to generate capacities and mechanisms for adaptation and resilience for the future. And we must increase investment in STEAM capabilities and long life skills, critical thinking, and the soft skills that the fourth industrial revolution requires. Why our focus on women? Women only of people in STEM, in the STEM careers, only 30% are women graduates. Women's participation in the labor force is 49% compared to 72% for men. And women, we know, have been most impacted by the pandemic. Today, unemployment for women is 7 percentage points above unemployment rates for men. And we like to, you know, read this quote, which is from the Programa Estado de la Nación, because we believe in it. And it says, if women participated more in the country's economy, were employed, and were in STEM, poverty would be cut in half in Costa Rica. and they have the numbers, you know, to back this up. So our employment challenge is going to focus on 3 areas. You know, we realize that structural unemployment is a structural problem. It needs to be addressed from many different perspectives. And so, you know, the challenge grants will cover job skills training. They will cover issues related to changes in the productive structure, and they will cover changes in labor market conditions. The central objective is really to promote innovative models that deliver training and STEAM and strengthen the entrepreneurial culture, strengthen the productive structure of the economy, and promote the inclusion of women in key and strategic sectors. And we have definitions for what key and strategic sectors are. There's an analysis, you know, where, you know, women are employed to date, where we could, you know, most, you know, target women. And we also need to modify the regulatory conditions of the labor market to facilitate the incorporation of women and to promote gender equality at work and at home. The reality is that many of our regulations impact women unfairly. And so we need to also work on the regulatory environment. So this is Comunidad CRUSA. You know, let's work together. We invite you to be part of Comunidad CRUSA, to stay connected to us. And now I'm finished and open for questions. Thank you very much.
Wow, Flora, thank you so very much. I'm going to try and be fair about the questions and take from what has been coming up in the chat as you've gone along. So I might, let's see if I can start at the beginning and kind of go through as quickly as possible. So
I'm trying to stop share, but for some reason I'm not.
Let's see. I could probably stop the. If I'm the only one who can share, then you're up. Perfect. Okay.
Great.
All right. So the questions as they came in from Victoria Schwartz was, does CRUSA still give awards to outstanding volunteers?
Okay. Do you want me to take a number or answer each one as it comes?
I think let's if you would just address the questions. I have them all written down.
We have never given awards to outstanding volunteers, at least not in the history that I'm familiar with. What we used to give were the Crusader Awards, which are awards to recognize outstanding Americans as well as Costa Ricans who have contributed to Costa Rica's development. So there we have recognized a number of people, including Cristiana Figueres, for how she has represented Costa Rica and how much she has done for the world. We also recognize the CEO, the former CEO of Whole Foods. We recognized what's his name from the Brit. There have been, you know, several businessmen. We recognize Carlos Manuel Uribe from the Cuesta Moras group. So these were awards, and we used the Crusader mainly to mobilize resources for community organizations. So we would, you know, pay for the event that would attract a lot of people, a lot of donors, and then all the money raised would go to these community organizations. We stopped it because of COVID. I mean, and we haven't, you know, yet restarted it. We're still in the process of analyzing those events. Unless you have, you know, quite a few people, don't really make a lot of sense. It's just too much of an effort. And, you know, there's still obviously concerns about, we can't get 300 people anymore without taking, you know, health risks. So we don't foresee certainly doing it this year.
Okay, great. Has CRUSA considered donut economics?
Considered what?
Victoria, did you want to share donut economics? That's all I have on that.
donut economics is a type of economics that is completely sustainable. It's a circle. There's a green circle around it, and things get pushed out if they're not environmentally, for example, sustainably or socially sustainable. And I think with your vision, donut economics might be a very good thing to consider.
Thank you for the comment. I'm not familiar with the concept of donut economics. We do work on circular economy, which from what you're saying is relatively similar, not quite. So we will look into that, but thank you for your contribution.
Great. I think Pilar wanted to know what are value chains in the way that you were describing it.
Okay. Well, the value chain is a concept that applies, mainly for international trade. So you have usually, a company, we could take any of the computer companies, and, let's say iPhone. So there is a value chain to get to produce the iPhone. And the value chain goes back in terms of, suppliers who have to supply Apple with different inputs along a value chain. And Costa Rica, is part of international value chains. We need to be a greater part of international value chains. We see it with Intel, for example. That is a classical case. But Boston Scientific, in fact, many of our health care, companies we are part of a value chain. And I think the whole concept also behind the value chain idea is that oftentimes we can be providers of inputs in only one link of that value chain. But if we are able to connect more Costa Rican companies, especially SMEs, to that value chain by helping those SMEs improve their quality, because oftentimes a Boston Scientific won't buy inputs from a Costa Rican company because SME might not have the quality that they, meet the quality standards that they need, or they might not have the capability to do the mass production that they need. And so you work on the value chain to be able to address those bottlenecks. Why can't, more local, for example, agriculture producers be part of the value chain of hotels in Guanacaste or in anywhere else? They are, but only to a very small extent. And there are reasons for that, obviously, and they often have to do with quality standards, and they have to do with, a lot of certifications that nowadays are required by the international markets. And so that's where we believe that we can work on that. I hope that answered the question.
Yes, may I say something, Sarah Joy? I just sorry. I thank you for the explanation. I appreciate that. I did make a statement because you brought up something important, which is distributing what we don't have. And in that regard, I think it's impossible to work in a country if there is no, a fair taxation system. It's not just getting everybody employed and producing. I think it also has to do with everybody putting back into the community. And I am a believer in fair taxation. I think that everybody, companies especially, need to bring back into the community what they got out of the community in terms of purchases and customers and things like that. So I think that it's important. I don't know if CRUSA has any policy or any way to influence that policy. Maybe that's just completely governmental and legal and legislative, but I just wanted to make that statement. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you, Pilar. I think with regards to fiscal reform, it's definitely one of the biggest challenges that Costa Rica has right now. We still have a very regressive tax system. We still don't collect as much as we have, and we have too many taxes and too much complexity. I mean, I think those are knowns. We've also seen how hard it is to make tax reforms in this country, and we lived through it if you were here, 2 years ago and more. I mean, all the efforts throughout decades. Having said that, we recognize how important it is. I mean, we stay up to date. I mean, personally, because I had worked at the IDB, I know how these fiscal reform programs work, and we didn't feel that CRUSA has any strength or leverage in that regard. Those are really, very political, and I think, you can't compete there. It wouldn't make any sense for us when you have the Inter-American Development Bank with their muscle, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank. They can work with the government and provide the kind of expertise that the government needs to make the good decisions. And then in the end, everything falls on the legislative branch. And we don't really, I mean, we have gone to the legislature when we have been asked to comment on a specific project. It's not something that we do unless it's a very technical issue, because, we don't want to we're not an advocacy organization, and we don't want to be seen as that, because that would take us in a totally different state.
Thank you.
Okay.
Flora, I just want to say we have reached an hour, but we have at least half a dozen questions. Flora, would you be willing to stay on a little bit longer to continue with these questions?
No, I'm happy to. I'm happy to.
Wonderful. Anya, I have you after a couple other questions, so I will keep running through the questions that came up in the chat. Let's see. We had kind of a conversation about what kind of employment opportunities. So, to encapsulate it in a question, I mean, is there kind of a plan to make sure that the job opportunities would not just be call centers for English speakers, TICO English speakers? Really, I was hearing a lot about STEM. What are some other examples, I guess, of the efforts being made for the job opportunities?
Yeah, we're very much focusing again on STEAM, on opportunities, because that's where the quality jobs are, and that's what we need to provide. We can't continue to provide. I mean, at least we don't see our role as providing those subsistence jobs. That often, those get implemented by many other organizations, and they get implemented by government programs. We want to get women, to develop the skills that are required, not only for today, but for the future. And we have to recognize that we're in a knowledge-based economy, and that's the name of the game. And it's about getting the right kinds of skills to constantly acquire knowledge over your life. And that's the kinds of things that we are supporting. So when we will be receiving projects, from different organizations and business, and we're talking to a lot of businesses where, are the needs of sectors for, new employees and for women employees, were we to help get them the right skills. But, and we have, target maps of where, women are more employed than others, and in what, industries they are. I skipped that because it would have gotten us into a lot of detail, but we're trying to be fairly thorough in terms of, that. And then, in our call for proposals, we are hoping that, we don't have all the knowledge, clearly. I mean, that's why we need alliances with private businesses, with chambers of industry. We're meeting, in fact, the Chamber of Industry next week, and saying, you guys tell us, where are those opportunities for employing women, and what do we need to give to these women to be able to get those jobs? What linkages do we need to establish? What's, and so forth.
Wonderful. That's a very thorough answer. Courtney had asked or inquired about being interested in learning more about CRUSA's vocational and employment guidance platform. We weren't seeing an additional link for that on the website. So maybe if Christina or Emily could help us with that in the chat, that would be great. Eugenia asked, in Spanish, yo trabajo en una compañía que contribuye a la descarbonización y es un emprendimiento. ¿Cómo puede participar en este programa? So, yeah, what is the decarbonization program and how would a company participate in that program?
I mean, decarbonization has many different areas. I'm happy to talk to Christina, you said was the name, to talk to her, find out more about her company, and see where there might be a better fit. We have, for example, a green tech incubator. And it's, that one's not only for women, but we have been, getting a lot of proposals from women. Those are for, entrepreneurs with a little bit more already, in more advanced stages than let's say our Constellate program. But that is a possibility. The Crecimiento Verde program is another possibility. That's again seed capital for SMEs. You compete for these funds. We try to do everything through competition because that guarantees transparency. But we are more than welcome to talk to her and give her some orientation as to which of our programs might best fit, and she can always present ideas for new programs.
Perfect. That was for Eugenia. So
okay.
I will get with her after to make sure that we.
And if she's in the, if it's transport, we have supported many different initiatives in that area, and that would be great. If we can get her into, greenhouse, the Green Hydrogen Alliance and other groups that we're working on, electric battery mobility systems and the like.
Perfect. Victoria, I think you had a really wonderful comment. COVID made the distinctions not only worse, but obvious, now undeniable. How can the gap between private and public schools be lessened? Will it take a generation, or will there be a true will to lessen the gap that was big before, now huge, between private and public schools?
That is an incredibly difficult question. I mean, I think that is probably the biggest, challenge that Costa Rica has right now in my mind, because the risk of having a lost generation has tremendous implications. And Costa Rica already lived through that with the crisis in the 1980s. And the increase in poverty that today we see in an older generation comes from that lost generation, because they stayed out of the school system, they didn't get the education they needed, and they can't find jobs. And who are the most unemployed? Today it's the kids between 15 and 25, and that's where we also have criminality, social, violence, the whole thing. So, and without that, leveling of our public and private education systems, we are going to see continued increases in inequality. So that to me is probably the biggest challenge. We have, heard the candidates address that. Now, personally, I haven't heard enough emphasis on the kinds of very difficult reforms that need to be undertaken for us to do that. And in my mind, it's not an issue of resources. I think Costa Rica has the resources to improve public education significantly. It is, about the inefficiency in every aspect of public education, from the management of the building of the infrastructure, the maintenance of the infrastructure, to the teaching, which is probably the biggest challenge is, getting the good teachers, and now with the pandemic and the gap, the technology, connectivity is absolutely fundamental, because that is another huge gap that we're seeing. And more people, young people especially, are getting left behind.
Thank you, Flora. Yeah, I mean, the job prosperity question is what Victoria was saying, just, when we're talking about public school graduates versus private school graduates, there, it's hard to have that prosperity be on equal ground, that equity you were talking about. Andrea, I think you wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, I did actually. Thank you so much, Flora. That was just like so much to unpack. I feel like my brain's gonna explode. You must have a real passion for it, because I can hear it in your voice when you were talking. So thank you for that. But my part where my ears were perking up were when you were talking about the development gaps. And in order for any sort of economic development or growth, one of the regions that you saw, or CRUSA sees as needing development, is the education sector. And then you also mentioned that English was going to be a major factor in that economic growth. Do you currently have any grants, or I think you call them challenge grants? I'm not sure if that's what you call them.
No, the challenge grants are when we drive a specific grant proposal competition for a specific topic. But we do grants in other ways. I mean, and yes, with regards to English language training, especially in the past, CRUSA supported a lot of different programs. I think nowadays what we're hoping with this challenge grant on employment, and specifically the chapter of that grant regarding training, that we will get some innovative proposals for how we need to scale those efforts in English training, because clearly, and I think La Nación had a very interesting article, despite all that we're doing, we're reaching 16% of the population with actually good English skills. So that's unacceptable, because, the government supposedly has all these programs. So I think, part of what we're looking at is we need to identify, an organization like CRUSA can't change everything. So what we need to try to work on is identifying those innovative models that are scalable and that work, and try those out. And we do have, relationships with government, and we have access to all sorts of government officials. So when we have things that are working, we can take them to them, and if it's to the president, we take them to the president.
Do you see yourself partnering with local businesses to try to accomplish that?
We're already talking about that. In fact, we've met with several, businesses, some in the free trade zones that have their own, training programs. We're saying, okay, if you think that's working, why don't we, join forces and let's scale this up.
And Flora, if somebody ever wanted to talk to CRUSA about an opportunity for a future project as a private business owner, who would they connect with at CRUSA? Yourself?
I mean, they can either write to CRUSA, that's the most general way, and they'll channel it to me. But I do have a director for programs and projects. And, since my time sometimes is limited, I try to stretch my time as much as I can, but it doesn't always go as much as I would like. So people can contact Juan Guillermo Murillo, they can contact Adriana Barrantes, they can have a first chat with whoever has an interesting idea, and then if we think it's something workable, we can arrange a meeting with me too.
Great, thank you so much, Flora.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. Christina, if you would share those emails in the chat of who those people are to reach out to, and I can also share them when we share this recording as well. Anya, I believe
has her hand up as well.
Anya is our next question. Go ahead, Anya.
So I wanted to ask, and all the work that you're doing is pretty incredible, right? So you already do so much, but I wanted to ask, like, is there a way maybe if MIPYME's company, or if they wanted to come to you because they would like to be more technological, or as you were saying before, learn how to export their product, or just become overall more active and starting to grow and maybe stop being a MIPYMEs one day, is there a program that you have to guide them, to work with them, and even help them be more sustainable, as that is part of your goals as well?
The closest to that is our Programa de Crecimiento Verde. And that is a program that we operate through PROCOMET. And again, I mean, we can't, because of issues that, obviously transparent and potential conflict of it, we can't say, business A comes to see us and we're going to say, hey, yes, we're going to benefit you, because how do we choose business A versus B versus C? So we do these calls for proposals for these kinds of things, and business apply. But the Crecimiento Verde program is basically, that's what it does. It starts out with a diagnostic of the firms that are applicants. It guides them through how they need to apply, and what can they apply for? They can apply to introduce technologies that are going to, make the production process more sustainable. We have had many, of our firms, for example, want to install, solar systems, or they want to install water efficiency systems. In fact, I can think of one company that was able to reduce their water usage in about 90%. And they can also apply for, certifications, and they're going to get, technical assistance. The company always has to put some money. I mean, we don't do 100% because we want the ownership on the part of the company. Mm-hmm. But they can get environmental certifications, for example, that are needed for, exports. If you're in, in ag products or something, if you want a certified organic, you can, so there are different kinds of programs. And so that would be probably the biggest example right now.
Okay, great. And also I was seeing through your Facebook page that you had recently a digital training scholarship process like that. So for example, if MIPYMEs wanted to say, like, what, I'm always swamped with requests, I don't know, like order requests or things like that. And I would like to create an automation process to take on those requests. And then I only get like the information of the request instead of me having to be asking all the questions. And I would like it to make it a smooth process or something like that. Would you also be able to, provide maybe a training to enable companies to be more digitalized in that way?
That is included in our Redescubre project, but it's oriented to SMEs that are based in the tourism areas that were most hit by the pandemic.
Right. So there's not like one thing that, you would reshape a company, but you have different programs to help.
We have different programs, and usually we don't execute them ourselves. Like I said, we run these competitions, and we have an executing agency do that for us.
Amazing. Thank you.
Wonderful. I think we have one last question from Yadira. Sorry, Yadira, yours was a great one. She belongs to the Costa Rican Association of Professionals on Tourism, ACOPRO, who has been in the sector of tourism for over 35 years, doing a lot of training and the Expo Tour as the main international networking in tourism and bringing an increase in the sector. Now the pandemic just got us out of work. What opportunities do you see for this organization who has the professionals to do the job for training for new jobs?
I believe you're one of the organizations on our list. And we have different programs, and usually we don't execute them ourselves. Like I said, we run these competitions, and we have an executing agency do that for us. Actually, I believe you're one of the organizations on our list. to talk to about Comunidad CRUSA, because you might be interested in presenting projects to us.
Wonderful, thank you.
Excuse me. May I just we had in the past like an agreement with CRUSA, and we had a project long time ago. We did have another project with Banco Interamericano con el BID, and we have done so many things for the country. And now I am a past president, and I just want to recover my organization. We used to be 1,200 professionals. Now we came down to 200, but we have the people with the skills to really help in this job skills training and other trainings. And I've seen that in the hotel business, especially because of the pandemic, many people were fired, and now they hired people from wherever they were, and they don't know how to serve. How in the service area they are really in a bad shape, let's say it. So okay, I'm glad to hear that you have us in the list, so we can have a meeting one of these days and try to get a project or something to help in these areas, and also for women, which I see is a big challenge for that.
Yeah, and I believe you you must be familiar with Future Up, the platform that Cinda has, that we funded together with the Inter-American Development Bank.
No. What is the name?
I believe you're listed in that platform. I would almost be on, you know.
What is the name?
But I'm pretty sure.
The name of the platform?
Future Up.
Of Cindy. Okay.
It's a place where we match, you know, analysis of people, job skills, current, what they need, you know, in terms of, you know, they develop career paths, and then we have a list of providers too that can help them, you know, fill that gap.
Okay.
And it's done all through artificial intelligence. It's been a big investment, and it's really a new thing. You know, Cinda is launching it now, but I thought I had seen your name as one of the providers of training.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Oh, and Christina just shared that on Instagram. Christina had also asked if we might take a photo. So if everyone would put their video on for just a moment, and we'll do a screenshot. Just one. Yeah, oh, do your hair. Okay, let me just see. Everybody's coming on, everybody who's gonna be on. 1, 2, 3, smile. All right.
We're missing a lot still.
Thank you, everybody. Can we do another one? I'll just do a second one. 1, 2, 3, smile. All right, great. Flora, I am so impressed, and I appreciate everything that you have shared with us. It's been such a pleasure, and we appreciate you being here and answering all our many questions and making all these connections. It's exactly what our network is about, is networking, and we are so pleased to have you. Thank you very, very much for your time, for being patient with all our questions.
Well, you're very welcome. It's really been a pleasure, and I do hope that people will reach out. You know, I'm more than happy to make these acquaintances. I'm trying to, you know, be part of this network too, and I haven't always been able to make the seminars, but I'm certainly glad to be seeing and recognizing more and more of you. So, and I know there's some dear friends here.
It was an honor, Flora. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye. We do have a couple announcements that I will make real quick while we still have a few people on, if you don't mind. So we have upcoming, just stay tuned to your email. We have our current fundraisers running. We're still continuing our fundraiser for Animales de Asís. We're going to focus on that for the remainder of March. And then we have Costa Rica Humanitarian Foundation that we'll be focusing on in April. And in May, we will launch our 2022 fundraiser for the Rehab Foundation, which many of you were able to attend last month when Maria Eliana came to speak with us. And then we have next month, we have our amazing, let's see, we have our wonderful open house. And I'm just going to pull up the date of that so that I make sure I get it right. It is the Saturday after Semana Santa is completed. So that is April 23rd. So you can actually register now on our website, pwncr.com, and that registration link is live. Andrea, did you want to mention a few things about membership right now? Did you have to go? Let's see. I think she had to go. Okay, so we have our membership drive really formally beginning, and we're looking forward to having everyone. If you have been a member in the past, we'd like you to put in your membership dues for 2022. It is just 15,000 colones still and 45,000 colones for 3 years, and it will go up after our open house. So we're looking forward to having everybody get their dues in for this year. And I think that's about it. We'll look forward to seeing you all in April for our open house. Thank you again, Flora. Such a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
We appreciate it.